everyone. Welcome back to That's Debatable. We're finally in 2024, so happy new year. And this year, you guys have seen a little bit of the deep dives that I've done on different theories that have gone around. We just did one on Princess Diana, and I thought it would be fun to introduce this new segment where every month, whatever I am currently obsessed with and going down the rabbit hole of, I want to come and bring it onto the podcast and talk about it with you guys because I think it's interesting and you guys like these videos. And this month, I'm really into the pyramids. I've always been really into it, but for whatever reason, just spiked my interest. So this month, we're going to be talking about the hidden secrets, not even secrets, because I mean, it's all out on the internet. We just don't know what's happening, of how the pyramids were built, why they were built, and how they're even still here. So let's get into it. So first of all, starting off, we're in 2024. We're a couple episodes into the podcast now, and something that I have found is I'm the type of person that gets hyper fixated on things, and once I do, I just can't let it go until I figure out everything about it. And listen, I'm not a math girl. I've never been a math girl. These pyramids were built so long ago that the fact that they're still standing and they're still one of the best kept monuments in history is absolutely confusing. So we're just going to get into it a little bit, and bear with me. There's going to be a lot of numbers thrown at you guys, but I promise you, once you start hearing these things, you're going to understand why I was hyperfixated. So starting off, obviously, we all know in middle school, elementary school, when they tell you about the pyramids, they tell you they were built because they wanted to they're built almost as tombs, which honestly, big slay. Like if I were to die and you build a pyramid for me to like rest easy for the rest of my life, honestly, I made it in life. So I'm definitely going to try to do that. I'm trying to put that in my will somewhere, that if I do pass away, universe forbid, please build a pyramid in my honor. But they were said to hold these different, obviously really monumental people that were around in Egypt. But their original purposes, or how we learned them to be, is to keep these three pharaohs after they pass away. They're going to be their burial. And what I found out on the internet recently, I was doing like my little deep dive, is that theory came about because this certain group of people were like, yeah, this is why we built them. And then everybody just kind of went with it. But it's not really proven that this is why they were built. The overall idea of these structures, first of all, there's the 7 wonders of the world. The only one that is still around and still up and thriving and still moving and grooving are these pyramids. And even pyramids that were built after are not as well, not even well kept, but they're not standing the same way that these pyramids are. Considering with what they were built with, like it makes absolutely no sense that pyramids that are built 1,000 years after these do not look as good as these. I mean, you can never beat the OG. That's one thing you always learn out of this. You can never beat the OG. But the overall structure of it and the way that, okay. Let me situate myself because I need y'all to understand how heavy these things are. I was going to say one of the Legos that they use, because for me, they're big Legos. Even Legos, I don't think could do all of that. But one of the big building blocks weighs up to 2 to 3 tons. And if you're asking how much is a ton, I have no idea. But it's not 5 pounds, girl. It is not a little, like, even if you are a heavy lifter, it doesn't matter. You are not lifting a ton. I don't even know how much that is. I just know that it's heavy as hell. And these pyramids have over 2 million of these building blocks. So I think that's, if we do the correct math, drag the one over. These pyramids, we just did the quick math, y'all, aka Google. These pyramids are over trillions of pounds. So just envision yourself, trillions of pounds. And what they say is that obviously slaves built it and they, worked together to build these 3 pyramids. One of them is over 1 trillion pounds. Let's just keep that in fact. And a big conspiracy or hidden thing that people don't understand is how were they able to grab these building blocks, which, by the way, where they got them were 500 miles away from where the original site of where they're built. How were they able to then grab those things? And I keep saying things because I really want to say Legos so bad, but they're not Legos. Building blocks there, and not only there to then build it up and then build it vertically. absolutely makes no sense. And they say that it just took over 100 to 500 men to take one of those and bring it back to the site to build it. That would have taken thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Not only did they do it in the speed of light, they did it 3 times. 3 times. Make that make sense. And I know that, like, before everybody in my comments is like, oh, they did it because they were strong. You could take 10 Hercules and still you would not be able to build it as quick as what they did. And listen, I know I'm from Jersey, so we got all the muscleheads in the world. I still don't think they would have been able to do this, especially just building it up of how it is. And mathematically, everything is placed correctly, perfectly. Like, it just, the whole idea of it is just absolutely crazy. And even when I was in school and they were saying like, oh yeah, you know, they just built the pyramids, they really downplayed this so much, it's not even funny. And it said that you can't go into the pyramids. You can, but you can't obviously explore the entire thing. There's a certain chamber that you're allowed to walk through. That being said, one of the theories that they have is that there was a ramp that was built on the inside of this pyramid, and that's how it was built, using this ramp of grabbing each one of these building blocks and pushing it like this, like a little spirally thing. That's great and everything, but that also would have then taken thousands and thousands and thousands of years to be able to do. So there's a lot of holes in that theory of just like saying, oh yeah, it was just a ramp, it's done, and we did it. A lot of that, I don't know if I necessarily believe it was a ramp. I don't know what it was. A lot of people also say that it's aliens, which, I mean, I don't want to discredit the people that did build it. Like, what if it was just like a super smart civilization that figured out how to do it, and we're just saying it's aliens? But another thing too that they're saying is a lot of it, of how it was built, was due to technology that we don't even have today. And the reason why they say we have no history of it or we have no receipts of it is because of the fact that there was probably some huge natural disaster, like what happened with the dinosaurs, the meteorite, and wiped all the dinosaurs out. Something very similar to that happened, and that's why we have no evidence of what that technology could have been. And honestly, the fact that I'm probably going to go and lean more to that side, that it was technologies that we don't even understand now because of how these pyramids were built and obviously the math behind it. For example, the points of these pyramids all point to true north. And because of, obviously, over time, everybody knows the earth kind of moves and it shifts, but still to this day, they still point very closely to north. And they believe that even back then, before the earth started, you know, moving and grooving and busting it open for a bad bitch, they pointed even more to true north than what it is now. For example, if you grab the cardinal points of the pyramid and you drew a line through them, it would hit more of a landmass than any other point in the world. It would go straight through our electromagnetic field, which is also another theory that people have, that these pyramids were built to house like electricity for some different purposes. But for example, these points go through the North and the South Pole. And at that point, when these pyramids were built, they had no idea anything having to do with North or South. Like, they were very much focused in on their area. This was built in BCE. So before they had any evidence of what was upstairs, downstairs, they didn't know. But it just so happened that these things passed straight through the North and South Pole, aka Santa Claus's house. So they knew about Santa Claus before we even knew about Santa Claus, which alone is a theory within itself that we just can't get into. But with that being that it passes through the electromagnetic field, also just the math of it within itself, if you take one of the pyramids, it perfectly equals the northern hemisphere of the earth. Perfectly. If you take one side of it to the other side, that also equals the equator. Not the equator, pardon me. It equals to 365 something. Cubic, whatever. There's a lot of jargon that I'm trying to like keep up with that I'm like, God, essentially aliens built this bitch. I don't know if this is going to be included in the episode, but y'all, the jargon that they use in these videos is just so top tier that even as they're explaining it, bottom line, what they're saying is we have no idea. They're using all of this verbiage and all this vernacular to basically say we have no idea still. So in simple terms, every single one of these videos are all, but I don't know though. But they're obviously using like high level terms and whatnot. And I'm trying to kind of sit in that with the math for you guys so you guys can understand how crazy it is and why we don't know what it is. The way that they measured this was with 1 royal cubic. That's it? Cuban. They used one royal Cuban to build all 3 pyramids. Cubit? Bitch. They built 1 Cuban to build all 3 pyramids. One side of it equals 365 royal cubit. 365 is also the equivalent of Earth moving around our little glorious sun. And obviously, I'm not saying the math perfectly as how these mathematicians would say it, but honestly, even if I did, I'd feel like my audience wouldn't even understand what I'm saying. So essentially, one of those things equals 1 year. Make that make sense? I don't know. Also, T. This video is like, girl, we are going with it. And again, just for everybody that's listening, we just want to say the videos that we researched and did, these people have dedicated, Johan just said this, dedicated their entire lives to knowing these numbers. And listen, I'm really interested in it. I haven't dedicated my entire life to it though. So bear with me as I say this, because if you take one thing that we learned in this video, and obviously they said it a lot more articulated and with, you know, the correct jargon that they used. But something that was very interesting was that if you take the tippity top of that bitch, the very front of it, that little cone on top of it, and you take the coordinates of that, that equals to exactly the speed of light. Now, what is the speed of light? Let me tell you. It's 2,000,000.1 decimal fraction and a half divided by 2 and carry the 1. That's the speed of light. And that exactly equals to the top of that pyramid. And obviously that's not the correct number of the speed of light, but when they say it, that's what it sounds like in their head. And you see how crazy that number is in general. The fact that that top of that pyramid equals that. Girl. Also, another theory that they have is that the capsules at the top, they were supposed to have little gold capsules. Essentially, they had to have grills on the top of it, and somebody went in there and snatched those grills. We have no idea where they are. Not grills in like, they're just gold capsules that were supposed to be there. They're not there. Nobody knows where they are. Nowhere to be seen. But they think that that's another reason why they were used to house electricity. Also, another theory that I saw, which was kind of funny, was not funny because I mean, it actually very much can happen. In ancient Egypt, they talked about how the priest would chant, and that would, as the priest was chanting, stone would rise. So what another theory that they have was that they used sound to move these building blocks. This sounds like this is like a Travis Scott Utopia on a different level. Like, you know how that whole concert caused an earthquake? They basically essentially did that. I honestly, for me at this point, what I think happened was just like Chris Angel Mind Freak went in there and was like, let there be light, let there be building blocks, and let us sing. So they used the power of sound, the power of song. I feel like that's like an ongoing theme in this podcast, is like the power of song will solve all. You know what? That's actually crazy though, because we have said that before, that the power of song really does solve all. Justin Timberlake did it. Multiple different celebrities have said it, but imagine Justin Timberlake built the pyramids. Imagine that was the basis of the video. Justin Timberlake built the pyramids. But that they use the power of the chant to rise, to make these stones rise. Now, again, like I'm saying, there is really no definitive answer on why these were built, how they were built. And if you watch all the videos that you want and trust and believe, we have done our research and we tried to watch these videos. And again, it's a lot of jargon, different specifics of whatever it may be. But in conclusion to all these videos, it always ends with, but we don't know. Which I think is probably the most interesting part of it, is the fact that we don't know, but yet there's perfect math. And math is not something that Nikola Tesla said that I took away from his video was, math is not something that we discovered. Math was something that was definitive. We discovered math. Math did not discover us. Like, you can't around with math. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. In every language and every point of the world, 1 + 1 will always equal 2. So the fact that these pyramids are in perfect math, even the way that they say that the stone was carved, it was like laser carvings. And it's like, well, girl, what? This was BCE. We can't even do it now. I mean, if you go into New York City, look at half of the buildings. Half of them are like collapsing on themselves. So if we cannot do that now, imagine what it would have been like back then. And I think the good little cover up is just that slaves did it and they paid them in gold and beer and they were very well fed. But Like, you can give me as much beer as you want. I am not lifting a 2-ton building block above my head. I don't care. I don't care how much pre-workout you give me. I'm not going to be able to do it. But back then, they were able to do it. Another thing, too, is there is no evidence. Marty just pointed this out. There's no evidence or hieroglyphics of these pyramids being built. There's hieroglyphics of everything and then some. There's hieroglyphics of just women casually walking around being bad bitches. And you're telling me that we don't have any type of writing, nothing about these pyramids being built. And I'm not saying that they just one day out of the next, everybody woke up and it was like plop, plop, plop. And then those three were right there. But what I find to be the most interesting is I don't think they were built by just slaves. I am leaning more into more of like lost technology of things. But, and also the fact that, and I keep repeating it because I don't think y'all understand, like the test of time, that alone sparks so much questions that why is it that these things, especially what they were built out of, they were built out of limestone. They were built out of limestone and they're still up and proud and standing. Obviously, there's a little bit of like, some stuff is coming down. That's obvious. But things that were built 1,000 years after them have not been able to look as good and in shape as those pyramids. I say in shape as if these pyramids are going to the gym daily, like they're taking their creatine, they're taking their pre-workout, they're hitting the gym. The whole thing of it, again, biggest theme that I got from everything was that people just don't know, and they're trying to discover what was a technology that they had that we don't have now. Because we can't build stuff like that anymore. That we just can't. The safe answer is it's there to keep for the pharaohs after they pass away. I don't necessarily think that's true. I'm sure that there are like different things in there, but nobody has found any evidence of that. You guys don't understand. There are so many different old white men that are just like, this is what it is, but I also don't know. So like we're trying and I think that's the beauty of the episode though, is that we're not here to kind of educate you on what happened. We're just here to talk about how much is not known out of it. A lot of the videos that we saw, there was only old white men talking about it. Nobody of minority or person of color was, I don't know, even cares about it or has the opportunity to do it, because I feel like if you get a person of color in there, they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out, and they don't want them to figure it out because they stopped doing research on this years ago. Everything that we have now was research that has been done years and years ago. There is not a new updated like, hey guys, so this is me and my pyramid, like buy my discount code #Emely15pyramid. But like there is no evidence of it now. They just stopped researching it for whatever reason. We don't know why. I'm going to say that it's because the government was definitely just like, stop talking about it. You don't need to know why. You don't need to know the things that you don't need to know. And I think it's very much that type of vibe. I know that we talked about how the Egyptian government basically said that, okay, they were built with the ramps on the inside. There was a ramp on the inside. That's how we built it. But even then, we just said it. If they were to do it with the ramp, it would have still taken thousands and thousands of years. So I personally think that, I mean, I understand why they said no more, stop researching it, because a lot of information is coming out and nothing is definitive. But that alone would maybe kind of make me be like, okay, but maybe we should figure it out, because there's so much misinformation being spread that let's figure out what it actually is and put that as our statement, as opposed to just kind of saying it was a ramp, it was the aliens, it was the slaves, it was Beyonce, it was a Cuban. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we think that I don't think we're ever gonna get an answer. In all these videos that we watch, all these articles that we read, all of them are just like, we don't know and we will never know. If you guys don't know the story of Noah's Ark, so they say big dude Sky, Top G, Big G, JJ, whatever you like to refer to him as. When Noah's Ark happened, they said that we need you to build an ark to keep all the animals, because there's going to be a natural disaster, a major flooding, and we need to make sure that the animals still stay. And I guess this was like a very much like left field theory of the pyramids were the only things that were going to be able to house that many animals. And that was kind of like another reason as to why they were built, to kind of help in those floods and help Noah. I was thinking like Noah Schnaps from Stranger Things, but like this is not him, a different Noah. Not Noah Cyrus either, but that the pyramids are also helped in facilitating getting those animals in there and protecting them, because they say that they never found the ark. They don't know where it is. So I saw a video of somebody being like, they never found the ark, so it's debunked. That whole theory of Noah's Ark is debunked because we can't find the ark. And then that's when they came out and said, well, it could have been the pyramids. I don't know if I necessarily believe in that. I think that's like a very left field idea of things, but that just goes to show how little we know about these things. All we know is the math, and the math is perfect. That alone, that's definitive. We can't argue with that. But as far as what they were used for, it's being told religious purposes, so that's what we're gonna go with. But I don't necessarily believe that the pyramids were Noah's Ark, though. I think that's a little bit crazy. But again, that just goes to show that you really can make anything up for these things. Like, you could say that these pyramids were built because they just wanted to have, like, you know, a little monument for these people, or they were built for religious purposes, or they were built because they wanted to be the best place in the world, or whatever it may be. You don't know. They were built because they wanted to make it the biggest club in Egypt. Can you imagine? The whole theory of it is debunked, and somebody comes out and is like, we just wanted to create a club. That's it. And y'all took it away from us. But again, there's a lot of unanswered questions that we'll never get the answers to. I know it takes a minute to build like those big Lego things, but I don't think it was just like as easy as it's like 1, 2, 3, that's it, they're built. I definitely believe it was built probably over like centuries of things. And again, that's where you get different theories from different people, like the Nikola Teslas of the world saying that it was built to house electricity so that we can have Teslas now today. That's not why he said it. That's not why. Don't quote me on that. But no, yeah, it definitely, again, there's capsules that are missing out of it. It weighs way too much for a normal person to ever be able to carry, even 100 men to carry. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It just, there's always going to be theories behind it. I'm really interested to hear what you as the audience thinks of this, because this has just been an ongoing conversation that I think the conversation has kind of died down because people kind of are in conclusion that it's like, we're never going to get these answers, and now we're banned. So look where it got us. I mean, this was just an example of kind of like that monthly deep dive that I do when it comes to things, because of the fact that even as we're doing all the research, everything was so inconclusive that alone I wanted to bring it to the podcast to open up the conversation to you guys. Have you guys seen videos that I maybe didn't see, a bigger deep dive? Because it genuinely is a really interesting question. And I think more so, it's more interesting of the fact that it's a question that will never be answered. And it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things that I just got super hyper fixated on. And I've talked about it with my friends before, and they have their own theories. Some of my friends are like, it was aliens and they just zorped it down and that's what it happened. And this is kind of the way that they keep track of us. I don't know if I necessarily believe in that. I'm going to go more so with the idea that this was lost technology. It was technology that even we don't have today, that was so advanced, that was able to build these structures and build these structures so perfectly that it equals different parts of the earth. And if you put the measurements here and whatever, but people spend their entire lives, they dedicate their entire lives to try to figure out how these monuments were built and why they have been able to be upkept so well through the test of time. And yeah, this is just kind of like one of those like episodes where we just go off the rails. We just go off the rails and we just start talking about the things that nobody has an answer to. And that's why even if y'all feel like the episode, it's like, girl, what just happened here? I don't know. Because as I was researching it, the whole time I was like, all right, this person doesn't know, this person doesn't know, this person doesn't know. All these white men don't know. And it's so interesting. And I love to find these like not little, because trust me, these things are not little, but these theories that will never get answered. So there's not really a way to frame this episode or frame like this is what it is, because there really is no answer to it. And that was my monthly deep dive. I hope y'all got the information that you needed to, because even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. But this doesn't make sense. And I think that's the kind of beauty behind it, is that it doesn't make sense, but it's here. And those will be one of those larger questions of the earth, of why they're here, why they were built, how they were built, and just everything behind it is just so interesting. And I love the fact that nobody knows. So if anybody wanted to come at this video and be like, she don't know anything, nobody does. So congratulations. You just helped the theme of this episode, is that nobody knows anything about this. If you guys have more information about it, by all means, leave comments. I'm so interested to hear it, to hear what you guys think, or your theories of what you think, why they were built or how they were built, whatever it may be, whatever theory you guys have, I would love to hear in the comments. And if anybody has an answer, please hit me up. My number is 181, imagine, But no, this was the monthly deep dive on, are the pyramids even real? No, I don't even know. I mean, they definitely are real. You could probably touch them. But like, what are they? I'm still leaving this episode not knowing anything. I know a little bit more about math now, I guess, and hopefully you guys do too. But I don't know. If you guys have any more information, let me know in the comments below, because I'm definitely interested in hearing it. And also, can we uplift this ban? Because we need to know these answers. We're never going to get these answers. We are never going to get them. And you could probably talk about this for 10 episodes on, about different like intricacies. You could just talk about the math for one whole episode. But we'll never know. And I guess that's the beauty of one of those biggest questions on the earth, is we'll just never know. And sometimes you have to be okay with that. But that was this month's deep dive on what are the pyramids? Literally, what are the pyramids? But thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in for the next episode. Drops every Tuesday. Like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. Do your big one. Love you guys, and thanks for listening always. Bye.